Okay, we've been talking about ways that you can develop your team, ways that you need to communicate, ways to coach, and ways to try to improve, make sure that you're hitting your goals. And I've put in some analogies that relate to sports and different things like that as far as coaching, development, and leadership. I want to give you an example here of, uh, of a coach handling a situation and just talk a little bit about how you can go about handling a similar situation. Now, there's two little parts I want to show you, then we'll talk about it. The video is not the best, but here's the first part. So this player's messed up. You can see the coach is mad up there, grabs the kid, and he's yelling at him, and goes on a little tirade about what the player did. Now, yells at him for a few seconds there, and then he actually goes over to the bench and starts yelling at the kid again. And he goes back a couple times and talks to the kid here and yells at him. Now, you see this happen all the time in sports. When I was young in sports in high school, and all of our coaches, they coached by yelling at people. And they thought that the best way to get people to do things was by trying to yell at them and motivate them to do it. And I thought that way until I started to get into management and leadership, and I found out that when you are trying to lead people, that this doesn't help. And some people might want to lead this way, and they might think that they see success from this. But I think that you get more respect and you get more people to buy into what you're selling and follow your lead if you can find other ways to motivate people and other ways to get people committed to whatever goals that you're looking for. The way that I would explain this to our managers and try to teach them why I don't think this works, why I don't think that yelling at people benefits anything, is this guy, the kid, he already knows that he's made a mistake. So all the yelling does is it allows the coach to feel better about himself. It doesn't help the kid, not constructive for the team. All it does is make it known that the coach didn't make a mistake, that the player made the mistake. You get a lot more respect if you take the blame. If you could say, I didn't teach him well enough, he didn't know what he was supposed to do, I didn't communicate it. Now in this situation, the kid was supposed to do something. He knew what he was supposed to do, and he just clearly didn't do it. However, he failed, and he failed his team. As long as he has self-accountability, which we've talked about, he already has remorse for that. He already knows that he's let people down, and this is just piling on. The way that I explain it to our managers is if you can't give people constructive feedback to make them better at what they do, then all you're doing is telling them to try harder. And try harder isn't coaching. What if they're trying as hard as they can already? The way I looked at it, and when I started getting into fitness and exercise, I always looked at it as telling someone run faster or telling someone to lift weights harder. And a real coach who's good at what they do, they'll give you pointers, they'll instruct you on ways to improve your running form, to make you better at that, and ways to lift weights with correct form, programs. They'll give you structured things that will make you better at those tasks. They don't just tell you run faster. And I think a lot of times coaches and managers, they just want their players to try harder. And try harder isn't coaching. That means that you're not giving them the tools they need if that's your instruction. Now, most people, if they're committed, and this is college pro level, they're committed. So they don't need to be instructed to try harder. They took a lot of time, effort to get there. Same with people, most people in business, once you get to a certain level, like you're putting in the time and effort, you want to be better. So like if a DM going around and talking to his stores, try harder is not good coaching. So if you're, if you're failing at a credit goal, if you're failing at sales goals, if your DM isn't giving you constructive feedback on how to improve those numbers, if there's no brainstorming, if there's no thought going into it and ways to try to solve the problems, that's not good coaching. Just yelling at someone, just telling them to try harder is not good coaching, and it's not helping you develop your team. So I thought that this was a good situation to kind of explain how you need to start looking at your team. You know, what constructive thing is coming from this? I don't see where anything constructive came from this. All it done was make the player feel bad, ended up getting the coach a lot of negative publicity, and it didn't help the team. The team can either look at it, the team is probably looking at this like, if I mess up, then the coach is going to be on my back. And you don't want your team to feel that way. You want your team to feel that you are nurturing and supportive, and if they mess up, that you're going to help them overcome that obstacle and find ways to make them better. So, like I said, this happens a lot just because it happened now, and I'm going over some stuff about leadership. I thought that it was something that would be very beneficial, and I wanted to at least touch on it because I think a lot of people run into this. And if this is your coaching style, I would look at, can you improve that? You know, is this working, and is it getting you the support you need? And if not, then review, try to find different ways you can approach things, and hopefully you'll get some benefit from it.